You're back for more of the Deuce here on BuzzChomp, episode 7. I'm reacting to everything that happened in the second to last episode of the final season. I'm Dan Salem. This episode was all about heartbreak amid a ton of prophecies I got correct.
I'm Mandy.
I'm Dan.
Subscribe to
BuzzChomp. Woo! With one episode to go, you'd figure a lot of stuff would happen. And oh my god, did it ever. I've made predictions along the way, and here in episode 7, a lot of them came true. But ultimately, it was all about the heartbreak. I feel like my heart got ripped out in this episode. And I'll go through what I got right. But it doesn't really matter because of what fell out of the end. Like, oh my god. Literally, boom. I'm going to start right there as Laurie met her untimely demise. I kind of thought she was going to die. I predicted it. I've been saying it all along that she wasn't going to survive the show. And she didn't. But I never saw her shooting herself in the head. Like, it just took me completely off guard that, oh, she went back to her old ways. She's really sad. Yeah, but then, whoa, she just ended it. She couldn't see herself as anything other than Laurie Madsen. And boom, she did it. She's gone. And didn't show up to set the next day. Leaving Candy sitting, waiting, kind of knowing something went wrong. I don't feel good about getting this one right, guys. I really don't. It makes me sad. My heart broke. I also knew that Vinny would get back with his ex-wife and end up leaving or being left by his current live-in lover who they never really connected anyways. And it happened. But I loved the analogy of them trying to glue the shattered teacup back together. Because that's how his ex-wife saw the, quote, repair of their failed marriage. Which was not going to happen. And I figured that. But it, it breaks your heart a little bit. He's got nobody. Mike's dying. His brother Frankie's gone. His whole world basically fell apart. And now neither lady who he sort of loved wants him around anymore. It was predictable because it's his life, right? I hit on most all my predictions because this show is a slice of life in a sense that it is true to life. Nobody's really acting against character. They are such well-defined people in this effed up world that we know it's not going to work out for them. It didn't work out for Laurie. It's not working out for Vinny. It's not working out for Bobby, whose brothels are closing and he has nothing. And like his son's trying to throw him a bone in the stock market. But if he actually picks that bone, he's going to go to prison. What did you think was going to happen? That quote was in the previews for the final episode of the show. And it can be true on so many damn levels. I also predicted Laurie would be in Candy's movie. Again, now she was in her first one, but this would be like the big coming out party final. Well, she got thrown into the film only to off herself, so now she's not actually going to appear in the movie. Which gets Candy back on camera, which was another prediction, if you will, that Candy gets back on camera. She's getting paid big money to get in like this heritage porn film, if you will, because it's all the older women. And then she's going to have to step it up and be the star of her own movie because there's nobody left, and she's a name. We haven't seen her boyfriend, who has a lot of money, much. I'm not sure we're going to see him in the final episode. Paul's storyline came to a conclusion. He basically ended in episode 6 with a smile. Maybe, maybe not. He's going to die of AIDS. We don't know. But he's making noise as he, quote, goes out. And he smiled and he was in prison. And I think that was the end of his story. We didn't see him in episode 7. I don't know if we're going to see him in 8. I think his story ended. It seems the same way with Candy and her boyfriend because her and Harvey are buddy-buddy working on her movie. And there's nothing else in the world except for her film right now. I quickly mentioned Bobby, but everything he ever knew is basically over. And Frankie, who's alive and works for him, made him realize that, like, you gotta tell Tommy, who took over for Rudy after killing him, that this is done. We gotta look at the new world order of things, quote unquote, as Tommy was saying anyways to Vinny. And these ladies, they got beepers, they can handle themselves. We gotta find a new business. I don't know what that's gonna be for Bobby. He doesn't really know anything else, and I don't imagine he has a nest egg, quote unquote, sitting on him from running whorehouses. So it's gonna be interesting. I mean, for the mob, the new world order is the drugs because that's such a huge trade. If they can't run the women and they're getting pushed off the streets, they can at least sell the drugs behind closed doors. We kind of knew this was coming and that the mob would break apart, but it's sad to see them all struggling dealing with it. It's really, really a sad show. Makes me laugh though, because it's so like right here, and then I can't help but find it funny when these characters are being so pathetic. The city was crying out for help from the local business owners to help them clean up Times Square and clean up Midtown. Yet, in doing so, they are running out all of their customers. And so, nobody wants to help them. We know that the city's successful. We know they cleaned up Midtown, at least on a surface level, because it's a huge tourist destination now. And it was nothing of the sort then. So it worked. But they must have done it with force of will and just throwing around the cash, because there's no incentive for the people that live there right now to completely change their lives and destroy everything they've ever known. Isn't that what's happening on the Deuce, though? This was a type of lifestyle in New York City that existed for a pretty extensive period of time and then got stamped out, like just destroyed. Because Manhattan, New York, the Big Apple, world-renowned city, had a central core of drugs, sex, violence, and just sleazy disgustingness that doesn't fit into people's view of society. It doesn't mean the people themselves were that way, but what they worked in and represented definitely fit everything nobody wanted. Well, pornography's going mainstream and getting run out of New York. It's moved to LA where Hollywood is, and it's huge out here still to this day. I don't really know if there's much of a porn industry in New York City any longer. The mob had to change gears, completely shift, because all of the things it did down on the street were getting cleaned up and swept off the street. The pimps, the hoes, swept off the street. That means Vinny gets swept off the street. Bobby gets swept off the street. It's kind of heartbreaking to see these people's lives just crumble and die. We knew it was coming, but it doesn't make it any easier. There is one more episode to go in the series, The Deuce. It's been an amazing ride. We've seen pretty much death almost every episode this season, because that's what happens when you live this type of life. And I think more people are going to bite the bullet in the final episode. I'm not quite sure if it's going to time jump, and I'm not quite sure if Vinny's going to get in on the porno with Candy. Those are the two things that are left dangling that I've kind of said all along. They might not happen, but hell, I hit on everything else. You got your predictions? Comment below. I'm Dan Salem. I'll do one more final video of this Deuce before it wraps its third and final season. Woo!
Thanks for watching BuzzChomp.
Subscribe and share.
Subscribe and share.
Subscribe and share.
Share.
Woo!